Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. We'll go ahead and jump right into it today. Question number 1, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Dov Barron. I am the Dragonist. And what do I do? God, that's a long question, but I'll go quick. I run the #1 podcast in the world for Fortune 500 listeners. It's called the Leadership and Loyalty Podcast. I also have another podcast called Curiosity Bites. Those are my sideline businesses. I am a speaker. I'm an author. I speak all over the world on leadership, and I write best-selling books on that. And I work privately with high-level individuals in helping them to find their dragon fire and become dragon leaders.
I love that idea about finding the dragon leaders in your organization. That's great. Question number 2, what's the best thing about working with a team?
The best thing about working with a team is actually, I think it's a bit of a misleading question, because I think that oftentimes leaders of teams don't work with a team. What I mean by that is that they bark orders and they don't actually lead. So the best thing about working with a team is to put your ego to the side and look at how you can serve the team, not how they can serve you. And we talk about what we call cognitive diversity. So, not just diversity, but cognitive diversity. Abraham Lincoln is famous for this because he surrounded himself with people who disagreed with him. And the worst advice you ever got was surround yourself with like-minded people. That's terrible advice. You'll end up living in a bubble. Surround yourself with people who don't agree with you, who will challenge you to think about things differently. And that's what I love about working with a team, is they don't think like me. They point out things I would never have considered and go, oh, okay. That's what's great about working with a team.
Great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Question number 3, I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. What are your thoughts?
I think if you try and keep people engaged by using traditional means, you're absolutely right. People will fail. I wrote this book called Fiercely Loyal, How High-Performing Companies Develop and Retain Top Talent. And it's exactly based on that, because I saw there was a massive challenge in the world with keeping people engaged. And the reason for it is because we're trying to engage them like it's 1985. It's not. Right. You can't keep people engaged with money. You'll get them with money. You won't keep them with money. Engagement requires an emotional connection. If you want to keep people engaged, you've got to find a way to connect to their hearts and their souls as well as their minds. People don't engage with anybody just at an intellectual level. If the people you enjoy being with are the people you're engaged with, who are they? They're the people you have an emotional connection to. So find out how you can emotionally connect to people.
Very well said. Great comment. Well, question number 4, what other piece of advice do you have for leaders of teams?
The best advice I can give you is, if you want to find out how to get people engaged with your team, you have to find your dragon fire. You have to find the dragon fire of each person in your team. Now, just to be clear here, we're not talking about passion. And people often make that mistake. They go, oh, you're talking about passion, right? No, I'm not talking about passion. If you're a straight guy, I am, but if you're a straight guy, if you're not, it's okay. But if you are, you're a straight guy, you can remember what you were passionate about at 15, 16, 17, 18. And if that was your life's path, we'd all be lined up at Victoria's Secret looking for a job as a manager, right? Passion is transitory. The things I was passionate about at 15 are not the things I'm passionate about at 25, at 35, at 45, at 55. Those are going to change. Passion is transitory, but your dragon fire is not. It's the thing that has always been with you. And so what I ask people to do is that, just as a first level, this is, there's depth, and this is what I do with my private clients. But what I'm going to ask you to do first, in order to find your dragon fire and to begin to talk to your team members about what theirs is, ask this question. What pisses you off and has always pissed you off? What is it that's rubbed you the wrong way for as long as you can remember, that you might even use language like, why hasn't somebody done something about that? And the answer is, because you're supposed to. Now, you may not be able to solve it in the world, but you can solve it in your world. So you look at that. What is the thing that drives me mad? Not as in today, Because you might go, what drives me mad is Donald Trump, or what drives me mad is Black Lives Matter. No, that's in this moment. What drives you mad as long as you can remember? What is it you've looked at and went, why isn't somebody like made that obvious? Why didn't somebody fix that? That's part of you. That's the key. That's the key that unlocks the door to your dragon fire. It's going to move you in that right direction. When you find that out from your team members, and you must go first. Vulnerability means leadership is leading, meaning leaders go first. So you have to be vulnerable first with yours. You know, guys, I want to get you, because one of the things I want to talk about is, here's something that's really bothered me for as long as I can remember. And I'm actually looking at how I can explore that. I want to find out what's bothered you guys, not necessarily in the context of the business. But let's just talk about that first. Then we can explore that deeper and say, well, how does that play out in our business? How does that tie to our business? And then suddenly your people are deeply engaged because they see this business as a vehicle for them to heal the world, for them to heal themselves, to bring their fire to the light so you can breathe fire onto the lies that are out there. That's how you engage people.
That's a great comment. It's a great question to ask about what makes you upset, what drives you nuts. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Well, question number 5, what other successful leaders of teams, such as yourself, would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
You know, there are so many people who have had a positive influence on my life. I think the greatest lie of all time has got to be this idea of a self-made man, self-made woman. That's absolute horse manure. The fact of the matter is that none of us are self-made. We're all learning and growing. So when I look at that and I think about that, where I go to instantly is the people who impacted me. Years ago, I was asked in an interview back in 1989 on a radio station, who was the greatest influence of your life? And one of them I said was my father. And they said, oh, your father, really? Was he a great spiritual man? Was he a great leader? Was he, what was he? And I said, no, my father was a narcissistic, hedonistic douchebag. And they went, oh, that was your greatest influence? And I go, not my greatest, but one of them. And they said, why? Because you should be learning from the people who are doing what you don't want to do as well as what you do want to do. My father taught me how not to be. It was a great lesson. I've had wonderful teachers. Parthasarya, who was my great teacher from India, who was my Vedanta teacher, taught me Hindu philosophy. Rabbi Philip Lefkowitz, who was my Kabbalah teacher, who taught me about the philosophy of Judaism. My Buddhist teachers, all those teachers. My psychology teachers have all been a great influence. But when I look at it at the simplest level, the person who teaches me every single day is my business partner, who happens to be also my wife. She's my co-facilitator. She works with me side by side in the business. She works with me with companies and organizations. And I know that when I talk to her, I'm not getting a filtered truth. I surround myself with a mastermind, and I encourage everybody to do that. I run masterminds, and we have a very strict process for bringing the people in, because the people we have in the mastermind are very high-level individuals who all have to park their egos. All have to show up and go, listen, here's where I'm struggling. So I would like to call out to Mark Levy of Levy Innovations. I'd like to call out to Jamie Mustard, the iconist. I would like to call out to Kevin Carroll of the Red Rubber Ball Philosophy. I mean, there are so many wonderful, wonderful people in this world, and I encourage you to actually take a moment right now and maybe write them a note, send them a text, and just go, I just want to thank you. And sometimes you don't have to say anything else. I just want to acknowledge that you've had positive impact in my life, because this world is changed when we remember what we're grateful for. Yeah, we got to know what we're pissed off about, because that's a motivating force. But we also got to remember what we're grateful for. I'm grateful for that my dad was a douchebag, because it taught me what not to do. I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for the enormous amounts of love and generosity and kindness that I've received. And by the way, I will tell you something that everybody needs to learn. And that is, the people who are tight, the people who don't give, those are the people who are stuck in the middle. The people at the top are the most generous people you'll ever meet. I've never met a super successful person who isn't enormously generous.
Thank you so much for sharing all of those wonderful people that have had an influence, especially your wife. I'm a big proponent of those closest to you being some of our greatest mentors and helpers. So thank you for recognizing her. Last question. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
My first job. My first job was when I was 11 years old, and I was a milkman's assistant. I wonder if those people listening even remember that there were milkmen.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
As older people know that, but this was it was actually an electric vehicle. That's what people that may not know. In the UK, where I was born, there was electric milk crates. They plugged them in. Now they didn't go. They went about 6 miles an hour, but they were pretty slow. But we delivered milk. And as a kid, I wanted a job. I wanted independence. I've always been a worker, and I've been an entrepreneur since my first business was when I was 14. So I wanted to make some money. So I went, which meant I had to be up at 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
to be at the dairy, to get onto the milk cart, and then to deliver milk with the milkman. So that was my first job. I've still got a scar on my finger from when I fell out of the truck carrying 6 bottles of glass bottles of milk, smashed them, and it sliced off the end of my finger. And the artery was spurting onto the ceiling.
Oh my!
And but the funny part is the guy who was the milkman said, "I'll take you to the hospital." How's he going to take me? I'm in the milk cart that's going at 6 miles an hour. So I could have bled to death going 3 blocks.
Oh my goodness. You obviously survived though.
I did. But it's a funny story that, let me take you to the hospital. Maybe I should just run. Maybe I should just run. It would be a bit quicker.
Oh, that's a good story. Thank you for sharing it. And Dov, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you asking. I'm very easy to find. My name is Dov, D-O-V, Baron, B-A-R-O-N. There's only one. If you plug that into Google, you'll definitely find about 100,000 pages on me. My main website is dovbaron.com. You can find out more about me there. You can find my podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts from, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And that is the Leadership and Loyalty Podcast and Curiosity Bites. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you want to find me. And if you can actually write to me, my personal email is dov, D-O-V, at dovbaron.com. I do answer my emails. I'm here on the planet to serve. So if there's some way I can help you, you just reach out and let me know.
Thank you so much, Dov. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, you can find us on LinkedIn by searching Blue Sky Business Consulting. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.